Today on Locked On Rockies, let's have some fun by asking, what if?
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 30th day of January in the year 2025. I am your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. If your team is the Colorado Rockies, you're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here is talk Rockies baseball each and every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. And on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies, because that's the best place to go if you want to be part of the show. And I'd love to hear from you from this episode, your what ifs. What if this happens? What if that happens? Could be bad things, could be good things, but we're going to focus on fun, light, positive stuff. And we're not going to go into the time machine and go back and change things in the past. We're going to focus on 2025, and we're going to focus on what if these things happen, and what would it take for some of these things to happen for the Colorado Rockies in 2025. Hey, light time right now, not a lot of activity for the team this offseason, so why not try to have some fun here on this Thursday? We're going to do that, and of course we'll read your YouTube comments as we always do. And before we dive into all the fun, want to remind you that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. So I wanted to do this because, again, it's been an interesting time. We're with where the Rockies roster's at, a quiet offseason, cutting payroll, youth movement, rebuild, whatever, terminology, words, adjectives you want to use for the Colorado Rockies in this offseason. There's probably a case for it. So I wanted to just think, what if certain things happen in 2025, and what does that mean going forward? And I wanted to start with a simple one. What if Brenton Doyle recreates last year? And I start there because if that happens, it's the snowball effect of maybe there is something to the development of the players and what's working within the organization. Maybe there is something that's working from his approach with these coaches within this organization. Maybe that is happening. But it also sets the stage for, one, someone to be on the fast track to be one of the best Rocky center fielders that we've seen in team history. Two, it's a guy that is going to be able to be a total game changer and trendsetter for you, mixing in with other emerging stars. And that kind of goes into the next what if. What if Ezequiel Tovar is an all-star here? These two guys come in, being able to start forming and getting into their primes here as the Rockies start forming around them is the type of stuff you really want to see from this year. It's one of the best possible outcomes of this year, no matter what the win-losses tell you. These two guys are the most important guys to watch for the Colorado Rockies this season. Nolan Jones being a close third because of the potential there still. Right field will let it emerge and will let the person come there, but it come up and get to the spot that they need to be. I know people are like, phrasing. Anyway, I'm just saying I've been so focused on these two guys because these are the guys that start building what the storylines that are around these guys are the ones that start building up, like we've seen with the Rockies when they're starting to be successful in the past. It's when you see the Arenados, you see the LeMahieus, you see the Stories, you see the Marquezes, you see some of these prospects, some of these guys get onto the team, and then you're like, all right, it's not right now, but it's starting to build. It's starting to brew, and it's something that really could start cooking here. And what these guys being good, and these guys, Tovar and Doyle, and if these guys replicate their seasons from last year but improve in the ways that they need to, that starts getting people talking about the Rockies again. It starts getting they start becoming the people's next favorite player. it starts building the energy around them, especially if those two guys are able to lead the way for the Rockies doing things that surprise folks, stealing series, beating teams they aren't supposed to, improving their record against the NL West. If these guys are able to pave the way for that, then it starts making you feel like, holy cow, we got some great stuff going on here, and we have some the possibility of this being a multi-year window with these guys. There's still a lot of other factors that have to build around both these players, but the reason we focus so much on them is because these are game changers. And I think when these guys reaching better, while these guys continue to grow, I think they're going to provide Ryan McMahon the support that he's been needing for a good chunk of his career. I think the big reason we see Ryan McMahon fall off at the end of seasons or have inconsistencies is because too much has been asked of him in the post-Arenado world, especially when you think of offense. Now, it's being asked of him not with the idea of that was the goal going forward. The Rockies obviously liking Ryan's offense. He is certainly an offensive contributor, but the big plan for all of this was to have Chris Bryant being the anchor of the offense throughout this entire time. So as Ryan McMahon has had to respond to the power vacuum that Chris Bryant has left in the lineup through the inconsistencies, we've often had to rely on Ryan McMahon far too much and far too often in situations, not that he can't handle, but maybe we're not putting him in the best situations to succeed. Brenton Doyle and Ezekiel Tovar playing well, performing well, playing all-star caliber baseball is going to allow Ryan McMahon to find his spot in the lineup where he can be more comfortable and do more damage, where he's not pressing so hard to be a power, hitting home runs, RBI generator, 4-hole, 3-hole guy. He can drop to the 5, perhaps, or go up into the 2-hole and set the stage for some of these guys, especially if you can get if Nolan Jones is able to develop into a 4-hole hitter, then that kind of starts padding around and making Ryan McMahon, I think, going to be a better weapon offensively because we don't have to rely on him and I hope that means Ryan McMahon doesn't have to press as much and doesn't have to swing as much. All of these guys taking steps, the Rockies offense in general taking steps forward means that the guys will be striking out less, which means that they should be setting each other up for success more, backing each other up more, and getting into a solid offensive routine where you're like, all right, I'm Ryan McMahon, I'm on, Tovy's up, I'm getting ready for a double. Boom. So I guess I kind of got long-winded all in just one, but it just goes to show you when you start going down the rabbit hole, how important offensive improvement is, especially for the two young stars of the Colorado Rockies, not to mention the possible impact of the power impact of Michael Toglia, like we've talked about a lot. But that's why it again circles back to why it's important to remember these things and why it's important to remember who's on the roster and what can possibly happen for the team. Because if things do go well, the Rockies are going to find themselves in a right spot, and you're not getting just distracted by, wins and losses. If these guys improve, if they improve on offense, if the strikeouts go down, they continue to play Gold Glove defense, and the Rockies are still kind of struggling as a team, I'm not worried about those guys. I can then focus if those guys are playing all-star caliber baseball, Tovar, Doyle, ideally Jones. If those guys are playing all-star caliber baseball, then the issues aren't there. Then the Rockies can start then we can really start hyper-focusing and looking at and starting to really pinpoint and fix the other areas, including right field, including the rotation, seeing how this season goes for the young bullpen and where you need to add there. If these key core guys take the steps forward that you're hoping for next year, then it becomes abundantly clear where you need to target in free agency, and maybe it makes it more reasonable to be able to do that. You now hey, we need to add we need to add a starter. Boom, we need to go out and get one. We need to just make it happen. And I know this is the case for always for the Rockies, but I'm just saying, we know that the offense is in a groove there. Tovar and Doyle leading the way. McMahon's comfortable and confident now in this new role. Tolia, he's, we're getting they're getting the power out of him. Maybe the average isn't as great. Hey, Estrada doing what he's doing. Let's really just boom. Let's for example, let's bring Herman back because we love Herman Marquez, we love loyalty, and then let's go get another one to be a true number one for the Rockies. Someone that to mix in. Then you got Kyle that'll still be around, that'll still be finishing there. You'll have a decision to make about Senzatella, of course, but you have Kyle. And then you'll have Dollander at that point. I mean, there's so many options that you could be looking at next year in 2026 that could be setting the stage for, let's add a big arm to go with our young arm that's coming up here. Boom. And let's build the rotation that way. That's why it's fun to talk this way about the Rockies. Obviously, we got to focus on the frustrating, but if we can just hope for the best, we can go down these rabbit holes a little bit and start looking at how all of these things are so connected for the team and the decisions and the moves that they can make. I mean, we started this by just saying, what if Brenton Doyle replicates his year on offense? And we got to the Rockies being able to, pinpointing and targeting a starting pitcher in free agency and getting them because they're confident in some of the pitchers that they have. And I tell you why these players matter so much as well, not just in a way that not just for on the field. Let's talk about off the field too. And we're coming up on our break, so let's take that and then we'll chat it up. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, two teams, endless possibilities. And there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, when you know that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, well, that's just the icing on the cake, folks. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. Locked On Rockies here, just talking, I'm just rambling today. Rambling some threads of what if and hope for the Colorado Rockies today. Thanking you for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB if you want more insight into the wider world of baseball. And tell me, what do you think? What are your what if situations when you think about the Colorado Rockies? And so my thing is this for this next one. And again, it relates. I was teasing in the first segment there at the end saying, well, it matters off the field for these guys. If they start playing all-star caliber baseball, it's going to matter off the field. What if a buzz starts building about the Rockies? What if the Rockies are able to look at this season and say the Rockies win 70 games? Would you not be very pumped at that as a Rockies fan? Maybe you'd sit there and you'd say, oh, it's going to hurt the draft chances. But the draft lottery doesn't treat the Rockies fairly anyway. It doesn't matter. Who cares? With getting that pick, if it's a lottery, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Hasn't helped the Rockies yet. Hasn't worked in the Rockies' favor yet. What's the difference really at this point? Because a team that's really good at, I mean, did the Guardians get the first pick or something crazy like that? Regardless. But if there's a buzz that starts building about the Rockies, attendance is up, but Rockies fans more so. I'm saying attendance is up at the beginning of April games, the school year's still on, the midweek series against the Pirates, the XYZ. But the fans, when they come, they're watching close games. They're watching games that are entertaining. They're learning new names. They're getting familiar with the young stars. They're familiarizing themselves with the young bullpen. They're learning the storylines of the Colorado Rockies. And what if a buzz does start building around the Rockies? That could set the stage and headlined by 2 All-Stars. If the Rockies get 2 All-Stars this year, that it just shows you how big of a difference maker they would be. Because the Rockies only usually are going to get someone in the All-Star game because of the rules, right? They're going to get their one representative. But if there's enough reason for fans to go out and vote and put their guys into the All-Star game, the vibe, the energy, the pulse around the Rockies can start to change. And that could hopefully start looking in a situation where the Rockies want to start seizing on that momentum and noticing, okay, there's a pulse building here. The Nuggets going through another season of, what happened, ups and downs. Oh, okay, they're wrapping up here. Maybe they peter out in the playoffs. Avs, same thing. Peter out early in the playoffs. Maybe it's an early summer for both those teams. Obviously not rooting for that. We're all about the Nuggets and the Avalanche here. We want the cup. We want the title. Absolutely. But again, I'm just saying. Because here's the deal. Training camp comes. It is Broncos country. The Rockies are going to be facing a summer of irrelevance in terms of coverage that they haven't faced since Peyton Manning was brought in to be the quarterback of the Denver Broncos. Without a doubt. It is, with making the playoffs for the Broncos, with all of that, if the Rockies are able to generate a buzz during a period of time where it is going to be Broncos, that's huge for the Rockies. That means more people buying into the streaming service. That means more people buying money into the Rockies, which will allow them to do things like spend money in free agency. This what if has to, it can only happen if it addresses the people who have real serious and real understandable hesitations about spending money on this team. But I think this year, if you can prove it to the people that said, I'm not a season ticket holder anymore, I'm only going with my friends if they want to ask me, maybe I'll go to a big series when I want to go see Shohei one time. Maybe he's pitching again, for example, something like that. But if then that person shows up and goes to the ballpark and then they watch and they see that this infield has gold written all over it and high defense potential, playing at a great level. And then you go into center field, you got the back-to-back Gold Glove winner center fielder out there making spectacular plays with a guy that can hit nukes and a rocket arm in left field sitting right next to him. And then that fan starts sitting there saying, dang, maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe I got out of my season ticket package too soon. Maybe there is something building here. But to get that fan to that point, there is so much stuff that has to be proven to the fan, shown to the fan by the team from the top down. Because Rockies fans, diehard Rockies fans, and diehard Rockies fans that are losing their interest in the team, losing their passion for the team, aren't going to just fall for the same old. So if you build a buzz around your team, being a young, exciting team that exceeded expectations this year, you have to go into the offseason ahead of 2026 saying, we can't be doing what we're doing. It's time to bring in another big fish. It's time for the Rockies to add another star. It's time for us to say, let's build and let's go all in. You have to start building that mindset in 2026 because with some of these high picks, with some of these possible guys that might develop for the Rockies, mixed with some of these young guys that they have on the field, with even young in quotes there too, for some of them, eventually your hand is going to be forced. And are you going to buy in when you have not done so in other times? They did the super bullpen. They tried the super bullpen. There have been moments where they've tried. But if you are able to exceed expectations and put yourself in a situation where you think you're even ahead of schedule next year, why not start looking at it as the investment of, we got to put the money in now because we're going to get the money back later, because this team is different. This team's exciting. This team's got a buzz. This team's got an energy. People are wanting to know and follow and talk Rocks throughout the summer. They want Rocks in October. They want their Sundays shared with Rockies Broncos when they're over there at Power Field at Mile High or whatever it's called nowadays. They have the Rockies in their ears because there's a playoff chase on. If you want to build that situation, if you want to build that possibility, it is going to take adding to this team. The Rockies can't simply just say all of these young guys are all going to develop on this timeline, that it's all going to line up perfectly. So if the Rockies exceed expectations this season, and those expectations are going to vary widely depending on who you talk to, and they can build a buzz, then I think that might incentivize them. I think it might show to them, let's go. And again, some of these contracts are crazy, but maybe that's not how the Rockies need to operate. Maybe the Rockies need to go to these guys and say, 2-year, $50 million. Boom. Let's just do it. Come help us right now win a championship. Come help us make the playoffs. Come help us win the division. Come help us be better against the Dodgers. Maybe instead of having to be a team that says, if they're going to try to bring these free agents, instead of just being ones that give them these big mondo long-term contracts, which the players obviously want, and that you're the team that overspends on shorter deals. And I'm just throwing it out there. There could be plenty of examples of that not working out. Health totally could be a factor. I just hope that if the Rockies are able to have a season in which eyebrows are raised, expectations are exceeded, that it incentivizes the team to start moving, being aggressive, and adding pieces that will help this team get to where we all want it to be. So it's wishful thinking, right? But it does all piece together. The possible, if the Rockies have a good season this year, it could be an example and backed up with action from the front office and backed up by consistency from the players. They can prove that it's not just a random outlier. I just hope that I just really hope this season just doesn't become another one where we go into it and it just seems like the team is just going to sit on their hands again. I hope this team forces the Rockies to do stuff because they're exceeding expectations. Not because not because they're struggling so bad that and injuries and what have you have made it that forced their hand that way. I hope the Rockies and these young guys, as they develop the leadership they're looking for within their clubhouse, become the leaders they want to become, navigate the Charlie Blackmon free era of the clubhouse and stuff. I really hope that this team puts pressure on this team to do more and be more aggressive if they're able to be successful this year. And again, I can't define your definition of success is way different than my definition of success. That's why we talked about it on the pod before. It's because for me, success is a team that plays competitive baseball throughout the season, wins close games, surprises people. I need to see this team be closer. I mean, if they're going to exceed my expectations, then it's exceeding 70 wins. Because I think the ceiling for this team is 70 wins. And that's if a lot of things go well to get there. All right, quick break. Reading some YouTube comments, wrapping things up for you all here on this episode of Locked On Rockies. Stay tuned. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. You're like, it's not daily right now. I know. We're in our off season, but we're usually 5 days a week. But right now, during the dark days of winter, we just do a few of our episodes, 3 episodes a week here for now. But anyway, I hope you guys kind of rocked with me on where I was going there. I kind of just turned on the brain and just let it flow there. I was just kind of thinking out loud about possibilities here. So maybe I was rambling too much for you. Maybe you like what I was saying. Let me know. Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section below. And let's read some comments to close out the show. Let's see. Where did we leave off? Oh, here we go. With football season finally coming to a close, I am so excited to see the Rockies play again. I miss baseball. Soy Boy there says that. And let's see. Yep. I mean, I don't know. As much as I love baseball, I do miss my football. I will miss my football Sundays. I can't lie. It is prime for me when I can throw the Rockies on and football on a Sunday. Doesn't get much better than that. But yeah, baseball right around the corner. I mean, it is going to be here before we know it. A really, really interesting spring. I think the competitions, I think the people that have been invited, some of these minor league deals, like what it's going to be interesting how the Rockies round everything out here. Lux Ace says, I feel like last season our bullpen was kind of lost. We thought we had found our closer with Justin Lawrence, but when he didn't do well, it just didn't do good at all. I really like some bullpen guys like Vodnik and Luis Peralta, but our bullpen was still an issue. Yeah, the Lawrence one was tough. Lawrence was unfortunately one of my I loved everything about it, and it just but I'm not out on it yet. I do think a redefined role for him, finding a role where he can be confident, just like I've talked about Ryan McMahon's confidence and finding the right spot in the lineup for him. I think finding the right spot in the bullpen and the right situations for Justin Lawrence is going to be what we need to find, because he's got the ability. He's got that ability to shut down and get that shutdown inning as well. But we'll see. Good, off-season of adjustments. We'll see what are made there again with the Rockies here going into that. Elise, I think Alicia. Am I saying? Maybe I'm trying to Ellie. I think so. Maybe it's Ellie. Yeah. Eli. I don't know. It's one of those things where YouTube just puts a name and jumbles it all together. Says, I thought he retired last year in regards to Charlie Blackmon. He did. He is rejoining the Rockies in the front office, a special assistant to the general manager role. So not on the field, but behind the scenes, he'll be doing some stuff. TK says Zach Agnos will hopefully become the closer. A name I need to make sure I'm familiarizing with myself. Again, there's still so many prospects and so many guys that I need to be, I need to brush up on. We got to get ourselves talking with the banter guys. Go get an update on prospects to watch this spring. By the way, they had did they talk to Chase Dollander? I can't remember who they just had a big guest on their show this week for you to go check out. I can't remember. I can't remember if it was Chase or not. But go check out Blake Street Banter. They got a great pod this week. Terrible plug, I know, but I'm sorry. Anyway, Marco here says any help in the bullpen is appreciated, especially to avoid giving up 5-run leads. It wasn't like 5 times last year, which would have put us almost at 70 wins. Yep, exactly. Again, historically bad. If they're not historically bad, we'll be in a good spot. Bringing in help would be nice, but I'm really looking forward to what Seth Halverson can do this season. Youth movement is probably where we should focus and is the cheaper alternative for the front office. And you're going to see him. You're going to see that young bullpen certainly this year, and it'll be I think that is something that probably maybe the most one of the most interesting things to watch about the Rockies this year is that young bullpen and how it shapes out. The Rockies just mentioned at Rockies Fest that they might be signing a pitcher, so we'll see, or they'd be targeting into the bullpen there, so we'll see. All right, folks, thank you so much for your comments. Remember, you can be part of the show by firing off your Rockies hot takes in the Locked On Rockies YouTube comments section. And thanks so much for tuning in today. Really appreciate that, because this has been your episode of Locked On Rockies. We'll be back in action next week with more Locked On Rockies for you here. Make sure that you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Make sure that you're following on all your favorite streaming services and all that good stuff so you don't miss an episode. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB with our guy Sully. And if you need more Colorado sports to enjoy on the Locked On Podcast Network, Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, Locked On Buffs, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.